settle in. Welcome to today's meditation time. It is an honor to close out our day together and prepare for a new day. But before that happens, let's just really bring ourselves into this present moment. Just getting comfortable physically, letting the distractions go as you gently close your eyes. And just reflect for a second on how you feel right now in this moment. Just check in emotionally. We always settle our bodies, we get comfortable physically, but check in emotionally and just see, how do I feel right now? What's going on in my emotions? And can I accept that however I'm feeling is okay? I'm not going to try to change it. I want to just have full awareness that in this moment right here, this is how I feel. And I'm learning to accept and validate that my feelings matter. And then start to notice that breath. Notice the inhale, the exhale, that little pause in between the two. Use the breath to bring you to this moment. The past is done. The future is not here yet. Present moment living really is what we are meant to do. And so let's take a few breaths together collectively. So just slowly breathing in and slowly breathing out. And inhale and exhale. And breathing in together and breathing out. And again, just settle and just continue in a rhythm of breath that feels good for whatever that emotional state is that you recognized just seconds ago. Breathe for that. Nurture yourself. Take care of yourself. And I've really been thinking the last several weeks, and it's really been at the forefront of my mind the last several days, this idea of our choices. That when we're confronted with this or that, why or how do we choose one thing over another? For some of us, choices about things are really simple. It's very cut and dry. We know what we're going to choose. But then we also all have these things that the choice gets a little blurred. Our senses kick in. This desire, these things that we want, kind of overshadows sometimes logic and things that we know. And so there's a lot of choices in our life where it's very blurry. And so I've been sitting with this a lot myself, like I said, for the last several weeks and very much the last several days. And I've come across a quote from the 8th century of all places that I think has complete relevance for us today. And it says, what invalid in need of medicine would ignore his doctor's words, thinking he could get healthy that way? So just think about that. What invalid, so what person who is struggling would ignore his doctor's words and then still think he could get healthy by ignoring them? And I ran across that quote and thought, how did someone know in the 8th century about these blurry choices that we all have to make in our lives today? And so just think, we each have foods that if we eat them, we know we don't feel so great afterward. There's certain things that just don't really jive with our chemistry and with how our body is in this moment, in this phase of life. And we eat certain things and we feel really bad. We have physical pain, we have heartburn, we have all of these things that have become problems that come across our television screen every day. We're being prescribed and recommended medicines to fix these problems because we've put stuff into our body that we know doesn't serve us well, and in fact causes us pain. So why do we do it? Why do we do it? We're like that invalid who has a doctor telling him something and he's like, I'll just ignore that and hope for the best. So we put something in our mouths, we eat it. We know how it was the last several times, but we do it anyway. And what we're doing, in the most simplest way of thinking about it, is we are actually contributing to our own suffering. We're putting things into our body that cause us physical discomfort. And that's not about if they're healthy or unhealthy. It's just we know there's an impact when we eat certain things. But in the moment, we want it. Or we have this craving or this temptation, and so we do it, knowing we're going to suffer. And then I thought about what beyond food impacts us this way. And it was just today that there was an article in the news that just caused me pause about some troubling situations at one of our schools here locally. And I didn't even finish reading the article because it hurts my heart when I think about behaviors of kids and how they impact teachers and staff and communities. And so I just closed the news feed and went on about my business. And it wasn't but just a few hours later that I saw this conversation on someone's social media page about the same thing. And so I just read the first few comments and wondered if they also felt that same just heartache when they read what had happened. But instead what I saw was people were asking each other who had videos and who had stories that they could tell about what happened. And I thought, bringing those kinds of images across our mind's eye, bringing those stories into our brain is no different than putting food in our body that causes us pain. It's contributing to our own suffering. Nothing about those things are going to make us feel good. So why do we do it? And again, just like that food, there's a desire, there's a temptation, there's something that we want in the moment. And we're not thinking about the suffering that's going to come later. And those are just two really easy, really concrete examples that have just confronted me lately. We really do contribute to our suffering. But what I've learned about this practice is that as we become aware of those things, we have a pathway to stop. And it's not so much about meditation practices making us eat healthier. It's about the meditation practice helping those choices to be less blurry. And all of a sudden we begin to act and choose and respond from places of clarity. And then our senses, these desires, no longer rule the day. We act from a place of not wanting to contribute to our own suffering. And that all comes from this awareness that we cultivate right here. And so I want to just pause for just the next several breaths and just for each of us just think, maybe today, maybe this week, have there been things in our lives that we've done or that we've allowed that really did contribute to our suffering? that some choice that we made ended up causing us pain and hurt and discomfort and sorrow, heartbreak. So let's just pause, and in the stillness and in the quiet, as you breathe, and we're in this present moment, just become aware. We each have our stumbling blocks. We have our things that we have to work with a little harder than others. What are your things? And then I would ask you the same way that I'm asking myself a lot lately. Are you tired of suffering? Are you tired of feeling pain in your heart, or pain in your mind, or pain in your physical body? And those causes are going to look different for each and every one of us. And they're not all things that we can just stop and reverse from the moment we say namaste and we enter back into the activity of the day. This practice it's only about the awareness. It's about knowing what we need to do for ourselves. And then to begin acting accordingly. And it's almost a rhetorical question when I say it out loud. Are we tired of suffering? Because I don't know of anyone who would answer that and say that they're not. We know there are going to be things around us in this world that put suffering in our path, that put hard times in our path. So maybe we can stop contributing and adding to the load. It doesn't mean you're going to give up every unhealthy thing and not eat any of those things ever again. But my hope is that this awareness here in this moment will make you pause next time and decide, I know what this does to me. So am I going to do it this time? Or am I going to choose something differently? And then as you're watching the news, or you're scrolling through the social media page, or whatever your thing is, or you're in that conversation with the people at the office, and the topics turn into hurtful things, are you going to be pulled in, drawn in, where you almost can't stop listening or stop scrolling? Or is this awareness here going to help you choose something different? Our practice does not put guilt on us. It doesn't make us feel ashamed or bad. But what it does do is helps us to make choices that are clearer, so that things begin to be less blurry. So whatever your things are, where it's been a little blurry lately, I would invite you just to sit, as I will as well, and see if we can't find our way into a little more clarity. And make a choice, knowing that suffering will come. I choose not to contribute to it anymore. And as I have more awareness about the things that I've been allowing into my life, physically, mentally, emotionally, when awareness comes, I will have the knowledge that I need to choose differently. as you continue just to breathe in and out a few more times here together. Just go back to these words, this quote from the 8th century that says, "What invalid, so what person in physical distress or pain, in need of medicine, would ignore his doctor's words and ever think that he could get healthy?" And so I would turn that to us today and ask, which of us, through our meditation practice, would gain a little more self-awareness and clarity and not choose differently from it? This practice helps to lessen the dis-ease in our life, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, so that the choices we make come from a place of clarity. And that those choices in life, little by little, begin to get a little less blurry. So my hope for each of us is that as we rise up and we leave this space together, we'll take this awareness with us. Whatever the things are that you've been made aware of, now you have knowledge to choose differently. The world will give us suffering. Let's stop contributing to it ourselves. Namaste.